Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with episode 2 of Great Expectations. I know it's been 2 months since we've gotten to this series, but to be fair, this is one of those I did say would be occasional because it's only 3 episodes long. I decided not to put it on as like an actual slotted show because of that, and instead just do them whenever. But it's just like things got busy, especially in October. So it's just I haven't had the time. I haven't had the time to get to much of anything in terms of non-movie donation rewards. It's just been very busy for me. With the Halloween special and just other stuff in general. Preparing for YomaCon. But now I'm making some time. I'm making the time for this. We're finally getting back to this. So I know there is a previously on moment at the beginning of the episode, because it wouldn't pause right away when I told it to pause. So I do know that's in there. But just to go over what I remember from last time, I do not remember names. So excuse me for that. But there's this young boy working as an apprentice to a blacksmith. He ends up bringing some food and everything to this escaped prisoner who ends up being a good guy later on and not like ratting the boy out or something, when he very well could have. Instead, he takes the blame for stealing. I think it was like a file or something for him to get out of his cuffs, something like that. But the boy ends up being called in by this rich widow or something, and she invites him to come to her place where he meets her daughter and everything. And the woman's kind of weird, kind of crazy. Seems to have brought on some insanity because of trauma, and has definitely been through the ringer. The boy ends up kind of gaining some interest in the girl. She gains some interest in him, but she has to go to Paris, I think it is. So later on in the years, after he's become, a young man, he ends up going to Paris to find her, presumably to court her. And he's left behind his blacksmith apprenticeship and everything, and is choosing basically to become a gentleman instead. And that's kind of where we left off, with him heading out. There was also like some other characters in there, like there was someone else working for the blacksmith who was kind of an asshole and seemingly put I think the blacksmith's wife, I think it was, into a comatose state. And just a bunch of other wild dramatic shit happened. So today we're doing episode 2, and I guess we're heading to Paris. We'll see how it goes down. We'll see if he even finds her right away. Whew, excuse me. But the fact that this is only 3 episodes kind of means that they kind of have to push the story along. Like it's 3 hour long episodes, yes, but still they don't really have the time to wait on things. So at the most, he might have some trouble finding her at first, but he's gonna find her in this episode. And by the end of the next episode, they're going to be together. Now, there's definitely a lot more that's going to happen, of course, and honestly, with what I remember from the first episode, this could get pretty crazy. This could get pretty wild. Excuse me. So I don't know exactly what to expect. But I did enjoy the first one well enough. Um, there were definitely a lot of notable things about it that just caught my interest, such as the woman, the widow. She was very interesting. But yeah, I'm excited to see more. So let's finally get back to it, and hopefully we won't end up waiting another 2 months for the next one. But we'll see. Um, so when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So I kind of had a feeling, and I looked it up without looking up any spoilers, of course, for the third part, and I was correct. It was Magwitch, the escaped convict who Pip helped out when he was a kid, which that does connect. Magwitch being the benefactor after Pip helped him, like when Pip was young. Yeah, that connects. That makes sense. I can understand why he would be the benefactor. The question more is how. He was an escaped convict, probably not well in the ways of money. So how is he the benefactor? We know he was rearrested, and yes, that was years ago, but that means he would have had to get out and somehow make his fortune afterwards. Enough to be able to, act as a benefactor for Pip. So the question is, how did he manage to do that? There's a lot of questions in regards to that I wonder about. There's also the less likely idea that maybe he was never a criminal in the first place and it was all a trick. But that seems stupid. Like, that just doesn't seem like a realistic idea. Like, why would some rich man, trick a young boy into thinking he's a criminal? Not just the young boy, but everyone around him. Just to do what? Like, what would be the purpose of that? Plus, it just doesn't seem like the right kind of thing for this kind of series, for a period piece like this. That would be more like for a big drama or something. But this episode also brought in Duel, I think his name was. This arrogant piece of shit who sees women as property rather than people, and has it out for Pip because he can tell Pip isn't, naturally from money. So he's just an asshole the entire time. And it's a good thing that at least we could tell that Estella doesn't like him either. Because that means that it's pretty much guaranteed that he won't be winning her over. Now, Estella is back in this, like I expected. And she is going through some traumas of her own, it's very clear. Things aren't, all together for her, unfortunately. But she is trying. And it seems like her biggest issue is that she claims she doesn't have a heart. She seems to believe that either she's not capable of it or that she doesn't deserve to have it, something like that. I'm wondering if it has to do with her past. Plus the resentment she clearly holds for Miss Havisham. I'm wondering if there's, aspects of that influence this. Meanwhile, we do have a positive in all of this. And that is that as Pip begins his journey as a gentleman, he ends up finding a good friend. Pocket, I can't remember his first name at the moment, but he is the boy that Pip had decked. And now, all this time later, Pocket is willing to be his friend and the first person who shows that interest. And they actually do become pretty damn good friends. Like, there was a part of me at first questioning whether or not there was some kind of ulterior motive and questioning whether or not Pocket was genuine in all of this, but no, it's been made very clear he was. So, I'm actually happy about that. That we just got a genuine friend, and it came out of such an interesting interaction the first time. Um, but we see they've helped each other out, given each other advice, and Pip even helps him monetarily get his start so that he can marry the girl that he lost his entire fortune to. Um, and that's exceptionally nice. Buttervoice probably wouldn't like it, but he don't have to know. So the basic thing with this, each episode seems to be centered around a different point of Pip's life too. The first episode centers around Pip's adolescence, growing up this apprentice of a blacksmith, living with Joe, and as well as his own sister, Pip's sister, that is, who it's like she's so much older than him. It's weird to think about them as siblings. I actually think about her more as like Joe's wife, even though I don't actually know if that's accurate. But it shows him living with them. He saves Magwitch and everything, protects him, and then eventually comes into the good graces of Miss Havisham, meets Estella, deals with all of that. Episode 2 now has focused on the first half of his life as a gentleman. The first half, he gets an allowance every week, and he has to learn to spend it wisely, learn to integrate into society and all. And he's seemingly able to do that pretty well. There's a couple hiccups here and there, but for the most part, he's integrated in really nicely. And things, for the most part, seem to be going pretty good for him. And then episode 3 is going to focus on him after he comes of age. So the entire deal with him getting this inheritance from his benefactor, who we now know as Magwitch, the entire deal with that is that once he comes of age, he no longer gets these allowances, but instead just gets the full inheritance. It will be given by his benefactor, who will reveal themselves. Again, who we now know as Magwitch. And at that point, he's basically free. He no longer has to check in with Buttervoice. He no longer has to really do anything other than what he wants. Now, obviously, he could end up wasting his fortune, but he's free to do with it as he pleases at this point. And so we'll have to see how he worries about that. Because this episode did make it clear that he's not the most safe spender, let's put it that way. He tends to spend a little loosely. And now his excuse was like something about like trying to make a good impression and everything, trying to showcase himself as a proper gentleman by using all this stuff he's getting. But it's like, my dude, you do need to know how to spend properly. You do need to know how to how to handle money, especially if you're going to come into a lot of it. And so that's definitely what the third episode's going to be about. Him now having this fortune, being free, and how he's going to handle that for the better or the worse. Plus, obviously, concluding these storylines, the stuff with, again, Drool or whatever his name is. You have to have him and Estella getting together. Just all of this stuff that has been going on. And I'm quite curious to see what they do in that regard. Because there's a lot, both positive and negative, that they could delve into at this point. And I'm very curious as to what is going to happen. Especially with the likes of Miss Havisham and just in general. This was another good episode. There were some slow parts, though. I will say this episode had some notable slow parts that just dragged a bit. It didn't like take down it didn't ruin the entire thing or whatnot, but it definitely did slow the pacing to a little bit of an unenjoyable level a couple times. But it brought it back up pretty well. And I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun. Now, like I said in the pre-thoughts, hopefully it won't take another 2 months to get to the next episode. But I can't promise anything in regards to that. I can't promise when it's going to be, or even when I'm going to be able to try and go for it again. Because at this point, it's just, I don't know. Hopefully sooner rather than later, but I cannot say. I just can't. But I'm glad I got to this. We will still definitely get to the third one. But it's like, yeah, I just can't promise when it will happen. But yeah, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this second episode out of 3 of Great Expectations, the 2011 miniseries specifically? Let me know your thoughts down below, and for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.